The very first principle of the ASEA Ethos is embodied in a formula that we call E2PC. And the E2PC formula has been something we've been teaching really since almost the very first meeting we ever hosted in a field environment. Let me describe it quickly to you. E2PC is a formula that compares the relationship with our motivation and commitment to ego and economics, our commitment to principles, and compares that with our commitment and motivation to build capacity, which is the C part. And in order to measure this formula, we put it into a graph, measuring on the y-axis from 0 to 9, your motivation and your commitment. And on the x-axis, we take a look at each of these dimensions: ego and economic, principles, and capacity. What happens if someone's ego and economic motivations, that is their desire to gratify themselves, to be recognized, and to make money, is a 5 on a scale from 0 to 9? Good or bad? In my model, in this formula, I don't know. To me, it's too early to tell. What we do need to understand first is what's their motivation and commitment on a scale from 0 to 9 to principles. Now, what are principles? Principles are concentrated truths that can be applied to a wide variety of circumstances. Principles are honesty, humility, civility, hard work, ethics, integrity. All of these words are concentrated truths that apply at home, the office, in the community, in your country, wherever you are. And if I find that someone's commitment and motivation, as measured on the y-axis of our graph, is an 8 to principles or truths compared to a 5 in ego and economics, to me that's a healthy ratio. And I call that the EP ratio. That is, how motivated are you, committed are you to ego and economic things and outcomes, as opposed to saying, I want to live in alignment with true principles and be successful that way. Now, that EP ratio is also something I refer to as motive management. And from the very beginning, we felt like this industry was probably a little E over P as a broad profile. I think you would all agree that the industry as a whole tends to signal country club memberships and mansions and Ferraris and Maseratis and all these different things you can have if you just sign up now and join this little business. Well, the fact of the matter is that's a violation of principle, because that's not how it works. And it's also a signal indicator that you're looking at an organization that's promoting E in many ways over P. And when we started this, we thought, if strategy is what makes you different, let's be different. Let's talk about principles, truths that prevail and that can be applied in a wide variety of settings while still promoting a healthy ego and economic. We still recognize our people. We want them to be recognized. We want them to make money. We just don't want that to be the only thing we do and talk about, and ignore the notion of promoting prevailing principles. Now let's talk about capacity as the last piece. If you're measuring motivation and commitment on the y-axis from 0 to 9, and the third dimension we're measuring in this little model is capacity. Capacity means actual or potential ability. It's referring to the notion that each of us have a certain amount of capacity and can grow that. If I have a bottle of water that's a 16-ounce capacity, but only has 2 ounces in it at this time, the capacity still is 16, despite the fact that it only has 2 ounces. So people are the same. We have an unlimited amount of capacity or potential, and maybe some of our actual ability at this time is a little bit lower. This E2PC formula says that, similar to principles, we should have a high score of motivation and commitment to building our capacity, making ourselves better over time. In fact, the target score for me has always been a 5, 8, and 8. That is a 5 in motivation and commitment to ego and economics. I want to make a good living. I want to be recognized for my efforts and do good things and achieve good things. But my commitment to principles is an 8. And having an 8 says, I'm more committed to living in alignment with principles than I am necessarily just to making money. The last number for me is an 8 on capacity, so the target score is a 588. And what that means to me is I want to do better, I want to be better, I want to grow and develop my own abilities and constantly be striving and reaching for more. Now, a quick word on why it's not 9 scores, the highest principle and the highest capacity score. Well, I think you'd all agree, we can all learn more, we can always get better, we can always learn new principles and apply them more effectively in our lives. And the delta between 8 and 9 on both principles and capacity for me says, hey, never suggest to yourself that you're already a 9. There's always room to continue to grow. Now, this little formula for years I've had in a maxim or a saying that kind of carried the day for me, which was keep E under P, manage E under P, and drive up C. So the maxim I would share with you today is keep E under P, keep ego and economic motivations under your commitment to principles, and drive up your capacity. And if you do that, I can assure you, you'll have enduring success. It may take a little longer to get there, but it'll endure and sustain. There are lots of people that turn away from this model and have short-term success by promoting their ego and economic motivations. But over time, principles catch up, and typically those aren't the people that have enduring success. Okay, so in summary, let me just take a minute and summarize EPC. What does EPC really mean? Well, EPC means manage your motives. Never let your ego or economic motivations trump your commitment to living in alignment with true principles. And the second part of EPC can be summarized as build your capacity. Remember my dad's saying that you're valued in life in large measure to the degree that you make yourself valuable. So work on yourself. Always get better.